I don't have a problem they made Penguin a woman. What I do have a problem with is that they made Penguin...
She is not what she looks like.
In Treacherous Waters is a really great first episode for Batman, the Caped Crusader. I think that right off the bat, they introduced Batman really well, and they set the tone of the show. They establish a lot very quickly. This first introduction, the hook or the before the title sequence is really solid. I think that it really does a lot of good things. And one of the things that I really like is that it really paints a picture of this is not just a continuation of Batman the Animated Series like they did with X-Men 97. It's a different time frame. You know, it takes place in the 30s and 40s, and Batman is in a different position in his career. He's not friends with the Commissioner Gordon. People don't really know who he is and what he's doing. He's dark, he's mysterious, he's kind of plays by his own rules. And the design, which I'll talk more about later, is a throwback to the old original series. So I think all of that really sets the tone really well in that first chunk.
Someone's in here with us.
I have to admit, I really like the intro. The artwork is phenomenal, and the tone and the mood of it is just really cool. I like the grainy kind of film look. It's awesome. I really enjoy that. And one thing that was a little jarring when I first saw it was it is very much darker. Thematically, the music makes it darker, and also just the look of it. And Batman the Animated Series was already kind of darker. So I think it paints a good picture. It really sort of sets that up well.
Being smart about it.
I do want to say, before I get too far into this review, there's probably going to be some spoilers. So if you haven't watched these episodes yet, I would recommend looking at my video where I kind of do a broad overview of the series, my first thoughts on it. And then these episodes really work better if you watch the episode and then watch my review. There's going to be some spoilers. This is the warning up front. Don't be mad at me if I ruin something for you, because what are you watching reviews before you watch the episode for? They're 20 minutes, 25 minutes, 22, whatever they are. Go watch it. It's good. You'll enjoy it. Then come back here. Be sure to come back.
Excuse me.
So right off the bat in this episode, they established something else. I feel like they did this deliberately, and I'm probably going to say this a lot through this review. They really want you to know this is not the original Batman the Animated Series. Yes, it's Bruce Timm. Yes, it's sort of the things he wanted to do in the series. Yes, it's obviously going to borrow influence from that show because that show was really successful, as well as other shows and other iterations of Batman. So all of that is infused in this. But something they do right at the beginning is they show Barbara Gordon as a lawyer. That's different. We haven't seen that before. So they sort of set the new rules of hey, don't be used to anybody playing any certain roles, because we're going to change that up. And there's several more as the show goes on. But Barbara's a lawyer. I think that's kind of cool. I think it makes sense. Her dad's a commissioner, and it's an older Barbara, obviously, than the other series. She was a college student. She's typically a kid, so they're kind of straying away from that. I don't know if she'll become Batgirl yet. I'm sure they're kind of keeping that door open, but she's a lawyer. And then we also establish Harvey Dent, who is also a lawyer. So he is the district attorney, but he's running for mayor. That's different. We haven't seen that iteration before. We've seen Mayor Hill, we've seen Cobblepot running for mayor and those sorts of things, but now we have Dent.
It's all politics for you now.
Something else that they do, and again, right up front, sort of it's a little jarring to see, but it helped me kind of settle into, okay, set your expectations aside. This is not what you think it is. And that is the way they made Harvey Dent. He's a bit of a creep.
Oh, come on, I'm not that bad.
He's kind of smarmy. He's distasteful. He's sort of rude. He's just sort of icky, creepy sort of. But that kind of politician, always campaigning, that sort of thing.
Hey, I'm just doing my job.
And that's a different Harvey Dent than we've seen. We always saw Harvey Dent, typically, in the comics and the original series, as oh, he's the good guy, and everybody loves him. He's best friends with Bruce, and he's happy, and he's got a girlfriend, and everything's happy. And then he's got the big bad Harv, or the Two-Face identity, and that's, that struggle. So to see Harvey Dent already starting out as kind of smarmy and kind of, uncouth, is a little jarring because now I go, well, where is the contrast? And I'm anxious to see it. I know he does become Two-Face. I've seen the trailers. So I'm interested to see how they play out that dynamic. But again, it just sort of makes it, this is different. Set your expectations aside. I like that.
That would suggest there's a crime boss we don't know about.
I think one of the big standouts in this episode, and certainly this series as I've seen it, is the music. You know, I'm a huge fan of the original series and the music that they used. Shirley Walker, incredible. Also, I really like what they did with the music, and I think that, again, it is one of those things that carries over from the Batman the Animated Series, that they put a great focus on the music. There are series out there that they don't spend as much time, you know, getting good cinematic music to tell the story. This music, one, fits with this time period. It's different than what we had in the original series, but it fits with this sort of design, motif, feel, tone of the show. But it's very cinematic, it's very big, it's very bold, and it has a very strong feel to the old Fletcher Superman serials, which just, it feels bigger than the show, which I think really helps set that tone. It sets the moods really well, and it also almost has that sort of radio stinger, the old radio drama stingers to it, where it's like it sort of accentuates the moment and goes into the next scene.
Find him.
I really like this music. It's noticeable in a good way. It's good. Music's good. You know, it's funny, as I started watching this episode, I was sort of having trouble focusing on the story because there was so many elements that were going on. And I went back, watched this episode again because I was like, I'm missing stuff, because it was like the first half of the episode, I was just sort of just absorbing the art and the music and the design of the characters and getting into the world and the relationships and all that. That was missing the story of the episode. I really like the look and the design of the episode. I'm not a fan of the 2D computer animated thing. It just feels too clean, it feels too perfect. It's not my preference. But the design and look, and there's a couple of scenes like car chases and action sequences that I think work really well, but it's sort of that, gosh, it feels like the old Archer or something where that, you know, where it's like kind of frozen and then the puppeteered hand that moves up and pulls the blind. You know, it's just a very mechanical, it's almost too perfect, too crisp. The old animated hand-drawn, it's like usually they do 12 frames per second. It just kind of gives that certain feel and look. They can do 30 frames, 40 frames with, you know, computer. And so, I don't know. Again, maybe I'm just old-fashioned. Maybe I'm just old.
Sort of.
But I do kind of like the imperfectness of that old hand-drawn 2D animation. This is still hand-drawn. It's just drawn in a computer, tablet, Wacom, whatever. But I had to kind of get used to that a little bit. But once I kind of got that out of my head and just went, okay, that's just how they animate shows now. Gone are the days of sitting there and drawing cell animation. Bummer.
True. So true.
But I was so focused on all of that, I was missing some of the story. But I think that was sort of deliberately done, because when I watched it, this is a pretty simple story. You know, we have Penguin trying to take down the mobs, getting a bunch of money, edging in on their territory and that sort of thing. And so it's a pretty typical. And what I like about that is it's a very old-fashioned kind of story. Batman versus the mob sort of thing. And using Penguin as the motive for that, or the villain as that, it seems appropriate because Penguin's very much just a mobster, you know.
She's a scary lady.
So let's talk about the Penguin. This is the thing that I think a lot of people are losing their minds over. And again, I think it was very deliberate that they did this in the first episode to go, Penguin's a woman.
Heavens!
It's a little jarring, and I see a lot of comments, I see a lot of people talking, and people have very strong opinions about this, and you're certainly entitled to your opinion. Oswaldia is a bit of a weird name, but I don't have a problem with Penguin being a woman. What I do have a problem with is Penguin is likable.
Oh.
That sort of feels jarring, more jarring to me, that she's singing at the club at the Iceberg Lounge. Love that it's on a cruise now. That's kind of cool. And she's singing and people are applauding and oh yeah. Penguin, I never really thought him as likable. Yeah, so you have the Tim Burton version. Danny DeVito did brilliantly that he's very like gross and kind of grotesque monster-esque. So there's that version. But even in the animated series, it was like, he was just sort of a, you know, creepy little guy, you know, and just kind of was not real charming. You go back to the 60s, Burgess Meredith. Yeah, again, not the most likable person and sort of a outcast. And that, you know, bleeds into the comic books and stuff like that. That's who I think of as Penguin. And again, you can interpret it however you want, but that feels more of a truism to the character than the gender or sex of the character. Minnie Driver speaks for her. Fantastic, she does a great job. Mwah! But yeah, I don't think Penguin should be likable. There could be a female mob boss. And so I think that works. But I think they should have leaned more into that. And if we see this character come back, I hope that we kind of see a less likable version of that. I don't know. That's where I sort of draw the line. It's like Penguin should be, not necessarily has to be gross, just not that likable. I don't know, my thoughts.
Yes, it would appear you've underestimated the Penguin, sir.
I do like that Penguin has kids that are sort of the henchmen and two kind of dynamic characters there, and them sort of being the root of turning on Penguin. So, which again doesn't add up, because I go, well, Penguin seems pretty likable. Why don't her own kids like her?
Well, that's Mama for you.
I like those characters, and I like the point that they play in the story of kind of backstabbing Penguin. That's kind of cool.
Sounds kind of guilty, don't he, Mama?
Another character that I'm really looking forward to seeing more of, to see what they do with the character, is Bullock. I think I picked up in here that Bullock is on Penguin's payroll, so we have now Bullock really a crooked cop. I always kind of danced that line before, so they kind of lean into that, which I think that could be cool, and I think that they could do some fun stuff with that, and certainly kind of double down on the adversarial relationship between Bullock and Batman. So I'm anxious to see more of Bullock. I think that he's always been an interesting character, and I think that what they're doing in this show with him would be pretty cool.
Me next! Do me next!
I like that this episode gives us the Batmobile and the Batboat. We get to see them both, kind of revealing those, not taking a lot of time to introduce those. It's a cool version of the Batmobile, very different than the original series, but more, I think it's more of like the Matt Reeves inspired muscle car kind of thing. Who's the producer on this? I think that's kind of fun.
He has a really nice car.
And I love the umbrella cannon that the Penguin uses. Now that feels like a throwback to the 60s kind of goofier thematic tie-ins with the villains and that. I like that. I think that they use a lot of different influences. It's like they took and cherry-picked sort of the best versions of all these different kinds of Batman. Just a lot of different neat elements that they tied into this. They all kind of work together very well. I like that.
Well, I'll be damned, Virginia. There really is a Batman.
And I think at the end, you know, as far as the story goes, it was really kind of, a neat little peek into Batman's point of view to go, well, by defeating the Penguin and stopping the Penguin, he really just sort of let Thorn win and gain more territory. And I think that's a neat like push and pull, and I hope that we dig more into those kind of themes throughout the episodes. That Batman sort of trying to do good, but is what he's doing good and good enough? Those all sort of work well in the themes of Batman.
And now we all lose.
Overall, a great episode. I think that it was a great introduction to the series. They led first with, hey, this is what the show's gonna be. This is what it's gonna be like. We're changing the roles of some of the characters. We're changing some of the ideas that you're used to about the characters. It's set in this world. It's 1940s-ish, somewhere around there. We have Batman versus the mob. He's newer to the crime fighting scene. It's a younger Batman, all those kind of things. They set the tone really well. And I'm excited. I'm looking forward to seeing the next episode. If you haven't had a chance to check out my kind of overview look of the episode, be sure to click the link on the screen so that you can check that out, and I'll see you in the next episode.